But look closer. Look at the monuments of the deep past. Across continents and separated by millennia, civilizations achieved feats of engineering that defy our modern understanding. They moved stones weighing hundreds of tons without the wheel, without iron, and seemingly without advanced mathematics. They created structures so precise, so enduring, that they mock the very notion of primitive man. Interview with Dr. Elias Vance, structural engineer. This is the precision puzzle. It's not just the scale, it's the impossible combination of weight, distance, and geometric accuracy. How did builders in the Andes fit massive, multi-sided blocks so tightly that not a knife blade can pass between them? How did the Egyptians align the Great Pyramid to true north with near-perfect fidelity? The textbook answers, ramps, sledges, and sheer manual labor, often fall short of the logistical reality. We are left with a fundamental question that challenges the timeline of human development. What did they know that we have forgotten? Were there lost methods, a sophisticated knowledge of physics, acoustics, or material science that vanished into the sands of time? This documentary is a journey to the most challenging megalithic sites on Earth, seeking not to discard archaeology, but to hold the ancient builders to account for their extraordinary achievements. Our quest begins in the place that defined monument building, the land of the pharaohs. Welcome to Egypt, Chapter 2. The Stones of the Pharaohs. The Great Pyramid of Giza. A structure of staggering mathematical elegance, built to last a geological age. For a long time, the mystery was simply how high, and how many. Today, the question is, how precisely? The original casing stones, now mostly gone, were cut and placed with an accuracy that would challenge modern laser-guided equipment. To understand the building, we must start at the source, the Aswan Quarry, hundreds of miles up the Nile. Here, the pharaohs sourced their primary structural material, hard, unforgiving granite. How did they detach blocks this size? We see evidence of a method involving pounding the stone with hard, ball-shaped dolerite tools, and then potentially expanding the stone using damp wooden wedges hammered into carved channels. The obelisk, an object that would weigh nearly 1,100 tons, was abandoned mid-cut due to a catastrophic flaw. This single mistake suggests that while they had the will, their tools and methods were perpetually operating at the very edge of failure. This raises the question, if quarrying was this difficult, how did they transport millions of blocks? The logistics are overwhelming. The standard theory posits that barges moved the stone down the Nile and then along purpose-built canals to the pyramid base. Once there, massive sledges were pulled by teams of men. Recent research suggests they may have poured water onto the sand in front of the sledges to reduce friction. This is plausible for a small block, but for the massive blocks that form the king's chamber, some weighing up to 70 tons? To place the 70-ton granite sarcophagus in the king's chamber, it must have been moved up a steeply inclined passage, the Grand Gallery. And once it was in place, the builders still had to construct a series of 5 stress-relieving chambers directly above it, using even more massive granite beams. How do you lift 70-ton beams hundreds of feet into the air, inside a progressively narrower structure, using only ropes, wood, and simple ramps? Interview with Dr. Elias Vance, structural engineer, returning. The sheer scope of the task suggests a level of innovation that perhaps we have yet to uncover. Was the pyramid built from the inside out, using internal ramps we haven't found? Was there a more sophisticated counterweight or leverage system? The Egyptian builders left us the magnificent result, but the true brilliance of their method remains one of history's most guarded secrets. The pyramids stand as a testament to willpower, but their logistical perfection hints at a lost chapter in the history of science. But Giza is not an isolated miracle. The challenge of the megaliths stretches far beyond the deserts of Egypt. Next, we travel to the prehistoric fields of Europe, where the builders of Stonehenge faced a very different, but equally impossible, journey. Chapter 3. Europe's Cyclopean Monuments. If the Egyptian pyramids speak of organized power and relentless labor, the great megaliths of prehistoric Europe whisper of a more ancient, often forgotten, engineering sensibility. For thousands of years, Stonehenge has stood as the ultimate symbol of the British Isles. Yet, like Giza, the stones here hold secrets of impossible transit. The stones are divided into 2 classes. The outer circle, the immense sarsen stones, were quarried about 20 miles away. But it's the smaller, inner bluestones that present the true mystery. Geologically, they were sourced from the Preseli Hills in Wales, a staggering journey of 140 miles. How did a Neolithic people, lacking the wheel, sophisticated boats, or even metal tools, move stones up to 4 tons across such a distance. Regardless of the transport method, the engineering at the site is undeniable. The massive lintel stones connecting the tops of the vertical sarsens are fitted using mortise and tenon joints, a woodworking technique applied to colossal stone, a feat of surprising sophistication for the period. And the monument, of course, is a cosmic clock, perfectly aligned with the rising and setting sun of the summer and winter solstices. The engineering challenge in Europe is less about moving single colossal blocks and more about orchestrating colossal numbers. Look to the coastal plains of Carnac in France. Here, nearly 3,000 megaliths stand arranged in precise rows over 8 miles. These stones, some up to 15 feet tall, were erected around 4,500 BCE. Erecting a stone this size requires immense mechanical leverage, utilizing ropes, shear legs, and perfect timing to avoid catastrophic collapse. The consistent alignment suggests the builders were operating under a single, highly technical master plan. Were these processional avenues, astronomical observatories, a massive cemetery? The sheer scale overwhelms their function. In Ireland, the Passage Tomb of Newgrange offers yet another form of megalithic mastery. Built around 3200 BCE, it's older than the Great Pyramid. It wasn't just built to last, it was built to interact with the sky. For a few minutes every winter solstice, a beam of light penetrates the roof box and illuminates the chamber within. The builders had to align the structure with such precision that it still works perfectly 5,000 years later. The megaliths of Europe prove that this urge to build beyond necessity, this profound commitment to stone and sky, was a global, fundamental element of early human culture. But to truly push the boundaries of history, we must look to a site so ancient, it rewrites the timeline of civilization itself. We travel now to southeastern Turkey, to the dawn of monumental architecture. Chapter 4. Pre-Pottery Age Marvels. This is Göbekli Tepe, the Potbelly Hill. Before Giza, before Stonehenge, before the invention of pottery or farming, there was this. Built over 11,000 years ago, it is the world's oldest known megalithic structure. A sanctuary of massive, carved limestone pillars, dating to a time when humanity was still nomadic. The traditional archaeological model says that settled life and farming created the surplus labor needed for complex society and monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe flips the script. It suggests the opposite, that the need to build this massive ritual site may have forced scattered tribes to settle, cooperate, and eventually invent agriculture to feed the necessary workforce. The engineering challenge here is one of simple physics and sheer willpower. These 20-ton pillars had to be detached from the bedrock and transported, uphill, for perhaps a quarter of a mile. And they weren't just simple blocks. They were meticulously carved with symbolic animals. We see belts, arms, and even hands, suggesting the T-pillars are highly stylized human figures. The precision extends to the enclosures themselves. The stone circles, with their inward-facing central pillars, are perfectly laid out. And after centuries of use, the builders deliberately buried the entire site, filling the enclosures with rubble, layer upon layer, perhaps as a final ritual act before moving on to construct even more enclosures nearby. What connects the megaliths of the Paleolithic and the great monuments of the dynastic age? It is a mastery of stone and a shared commitment to a purpose that demanded impossible feats of engineering. These builders understood the materials, the mathematics, and the monumental effort required. They knew how to make a mark that would last forever. But the mystery deepens when we turn to the New World, where builders, entirely separate from the rest of the globe, discovered their own, equally baffling, mastery of stone. Next, we travel to the Andes to explore the impossible, mortar-less perfection of the Inca stonework. Chapter 5. The Inca Puzzle Box. We move now from the old world to the new, but the fundamental challenge remains: the mastery of stone. High in the rugged Andes Mountains, the Inca Empire constructed cities, temples, and fortresses that defy their harsh environment and their known technology. Unlike the Egyptians, the Inca were separated from the Stone Age by only a few hundred years when the Spanish arrived. They possessed no iron, no steel, and their use of the wheel was limited to small toys. Yet, their masonry is arguably the most technically demanding in the world. The key to Inca genius is polygonal masonry. Instead of uniform, rectangular blocks, they utilized stones with multiple, often irregular angles, like massive pieces of a geological puzzle. These blocks, ranging in size from small hand-cut pieces to slabs weighing over 100 tons, are fitted together with such perfect alignment that the joints are virtually invisible. A sheet of paper, let alone a knife blade, cannot be inserted between them. The consensus suggests the stones were hammered and ground into shape using harder, basalt tools, likely aided by a slurry of sand and water. But this method is incredibly slow. To perfectly sculpt the interlocking faces of a single 100-ton block would have taken years, perhaps decades, requiring workers to continuously crawl under and around the stone, grinding away micromillimeters of surface area. The effort is magnified when you consider the function. This interlocking, mortar-less design wasn't just aesthetic, it was anti-seismic. When the frequent Andean earthquakes hit, the polygonal stones don't crumble. Instead, they shift, settle, and lock back into place, acting like massive shock absorbers. The Inca built with a profound, practical understanding of their dynamic landscape. The transportation challenge in the Andes is arguably tougher than in Egypt. The stones for the Temple of the Sun at Ollantaytambo were quarried on a separate mountain ridge, cut into massive red porphyry slabs. They had to be slid down a steep slope, somehow floated or dragged across the rushing, deep Urubamba River, and then hauled up the final terraced hill to the temple platform. The complexity suggests the true secret of the Inca was not a lost high technology, but an unparalleled social organization, capable of mobilizing massive populations for generations, perfecting every step of the quarrying, transportation, and fitting process. Their legacy is a testament to the power of collective human effort and relentless dedication to perfection. The mastery of stone in the Americas, however, takes a different form to the north, among the magnificent empires of Mesoamerica. Chapter 6. Mesoamerican Might. Teotihuacan, the city of the gods, in central Mexico, was home to the massive Pyramid of the Sun. At over 200 feet high and with a base nearly identical to that of the Great Pyramid of Giza, its sheer volume makes it one of the largest ancient structures on Earth. Here, the challenge was less about moving individual mega blocks and more about the logistics of moving millions of tons of volcanic rock and earth. Unlike the cut stone precision of the Inca, the Mesoamerican builders primarily relied on massive earthen cores, faced with carefully placed stone and then sealed with a durable layer of lime stucco, which acted like a rudimentary form of concrete. This method was fast, efficient, and utilized locally available materials. The true engineering feat of the Maya was the production and application of this sophisticated plaster. The sheer volume of labor needed to mine, transport, burn, and mix the lime mortar speaks to an industrial-scale organization of resources, all achieved with simple stone tools and vast networks of human chains. Beyond construction, the Mesoamerican builders embedded profound mathematical and astronomical knowledge into their structures. El Castillo is a calendar in stone. Its 4 stairways have 91 steps each. Add the final platform, and you get 365, the number of days in the solar year. Furthermore, during the spring and fall equinoxes, the play of light and shadow creates the illusion of a serpent, the great god Kukulkan, slithering down the northern staircase. This level of pre-planning, orientation, and integration of architecture with the cosmos suggests that a sophisticated class of astronomer-engineers were at the heart of their society. They weren't just stacking stones, they were hard-coding their worldview into the landscape. The purpose was not just survival, but spiritual synchronization with the vast, cyclic universe. From the Andes to the Yucatan, the New World builders achieved their miracles without metal and without the wheel. They proved that ingenuity is not dependent on technological advancements, but on resourcefulness, precision, and an organizational will to master the landscape. But what if there was more to these achievements? What if our accepted history is missing a crucial chapter? It is time to step away from the traditional view and explore the theories that suggest a lost knowledge was the key to moving the megaliths. Chapter 7. Alternative Engineering Theories. When traditional explanations meet a wall of physical impossibility, alternative theories rush in. For decades, engineers and researchers have proposed radical ideas that challenge the notion of simple brute force. These theories are often dismissed by mainstream archaeology, but they attempt to explain the most vexing problem, the physics of friction and weight. This is the theory of acoustic resonance. It suggests that the precise shape of the monuments, the chambers within them, and even the ceremonial use of music or chanting, might have been designed to generate specific sonic frequencies. Frequencies that, when focused, could reduce friction or allow stones to be moved with minimal force. The theory is highly speculative, but it attempts to address the monumental discrepancy between effort and result. Another popular alternative theory centers on lost technology or chemistry. Were the builders in the Andes using an unknown organic acid or alkaline solution, derived from plants, that could temporarily dissolve or soften the surface of granite or diorite, allowing for precise shaping before the stone rehardened? This concept of molding stone, rather than cutting it, offers a more elegant solution to the polygon mystery, explaining the seemingly impossible speed and accuracy of the masons. Finally, there is the highly organized, but still human-powered, alternative, the advanced system theory. This theory proposes that the ancients possessed a knowledge of mechanics, levers, and friction management far beyond what is commonly taught. It suggests that they used massive, well-lubricated timber devices, compound pulley systems, and ingenious counterweights to multiply human strength hundreds of times. They didn't need a lost technology, but a lost science of applied physics. The engineering genius of the megaliths, whether driven by acoustics, chemistry, or advanced mechanics, ultimately reveals the same thing. The ancients were not intellectually limited. They understood the properties of stone, the power of leverage, and the sheer force of collective, directed human will. They achieved the impossible, and the mystery compels us to continually re-evaluate the limits we place on human potential. Now, it is time to connect the dots. What links the polygonal walls of Peru with the precise casing stones of Giza? What universal principles were known to the builders of the world? Echoes in Stone. Part 3. The Legacy of the Builders. Chapter 8. Global Connections and Shared Knowledge. We have traveled from the deserts of Egypt to the peaks of the Andes, uncovering the same, baffling commitment to monumental stone construction. What is striking is not just the shared difficulty of the projects, but the shared solutions, in societies that had absolutely no known contact with each other. Consider the precision fit. Why did builders in both the pre-Inca world and the ancient Mediterranean utilize the difficult, multi-angled, mortar-less technique? It served a practical purpose in seismic zones, but it also appears in non-seismic areas. Did the technique evolve independently based on local stone, or were these builders tapping into a universal principle of strength and durability? This suggests that the true global connection isn't a single, lost civilization, or a single shared tool, but a shared intelligence, a universal human capacity to observe, experiment, and pass on engineering knowledge through generations, regardless of language or writing. The real engineering achievement wasn't moving one block, it was creating the infrastructure necessary to sustain the projects. The Egyptian supply chains for tools, food, and water, the Maya's vast networks for producing lime mortar, the Incas' precise control over quarrying logistics. The monuments themselves were just the visible outcome of an unparalleled organizational science. Furthermore, the obsession with celestial alignment is a unifying theme. These monuments were not merely physical structures, they were instruments for reading the heavens and synchronizing society with the cycles of the cosmos. Their function elevates them from simple construction projects to cosmological machines, requiring a union of astronomy, geometry, and engineering. The megaliths stand as a global testament to human ingenuity. They challenge our assumption that progress is linear. They force us to accept that highly advanced knowledge, tailored to the available materials, existed across the globe at different times. But how impossible are they, truly? To answer that, we must bring the ancient challenge into the modern world. If the answers are simple, we should be able to replicate the work. Chapter 9. The Modern Challenge. Over the last century, numerous attempts have been made to replicate the megalithic feats. The famous experiment in 1997 attempted to haul a small, 2-ton block using 200 people. They succeeded, but barely, and only on a smooth, flat surface. The energy expenditure was immense, and the tools wore out quickly. The replication attempts often fail at the industrial scale. It proves that the methods, ramps and sledges, are possible, but it highlights the immense, almost crippling logistical challenge. The simple answer requires an organizational machine of unprecedented efficiency and resource management. Modern technology, ironically, only serves to deepen the mystery. When we use lasers to measure the blocks, the precision often exceeds the tolerances of the tools the builders supposedly used. The question becomes, did they possess a lost technique for measurement and alignment that was more accurate than our assumptions allow? The simplest answer is often the most profound. Time and dedication. The ancient builders had a resource we no longer possess in the same measure: unhurried time. With infinite generations of patient, coordinated labor, with an unwavering religious or state commitment to the goal, even the most daunting task becomes achievable. The megaliths stand as a monument not just to stone, but to the power of collective will. A population united by purpose, driven by belief, and guided by ingenious minds. Chapter 10. Echoes in Stone. Conclusion. The quest for the megaliths is the quest for a deeper understanding of ourselves. The stones tell us that the height of human ingenuity was not confined to our present era. That across the world, from the earliest hunter-gatherers to the great empires, humanity possessed the capacity for massive engineering, logistical brilliance, and profound astronomical knowledge. The monuments endure. They survive earthquakes, wars, and the erosion of millennia. They are history's most durable question mark, silently asking us, if these were the achievements of the past, what are the true limits of our potential today? The echoes in stone still ring out, a permanent challenge to the timeline of human history. The secrets of the builders lie somewhere between the simple physics we know and the organizational genius we have yet to truly comprehend. And until we understand every detail of their impossible craft, the mystery will remain. What do you think was the secret? Let us know in the comments below.